Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely fascinating from the harmonic scale framework, or HSF for short. We're going to unpack how incredibly complex, massive structures are built from the exact same microscopic foundations, simply by changing how they organize themselves. It's a really amazing look at how abstract physics translates directly into the tangible, everyday realities you can actually touch and feel. To get us started, I want you to ask yourself this. Why does the exact same molecule, H2O, create both floating, invisible clouds of water vapor and massive, solid glaciers? Think about it. Chemically, the molecules are identical. They literally do not change at all. So what actually does? Well, the answer entirely lies in how they structure themselves at higher levels. Okay, let's dive right into this. The entire foundation of the HSF theory rests on three simple words: structure precedes dynamics. You see, in this framework, reality isn't just some chaotic soup of random energy. It's a highly structured sequence of constraints. The laws of physics don't just float freely. They operate inside a very specific, repeating hierarchy where higher structures form by repeating a hidden pattern. Section 1. The HSF structural hierarchy. To really understand how this works, we need to break down exactly what this hidden structure looks like. It's built on specific functional roles, which we call K-levels, rather than just physical shells. Think of it kind of like building a professional sports team from scratch. It develops through very specific steps. It starts with step 1, K1 and K2. K1 is your local activation, the individual athletes with all their raw energy. K2 is coupling, how those individual players start interacting. Moving to step 2, K3 and K4 bring collective organization stabilization. This is where the players start running actual plays and behaving as one cohesive unit, resisting disruption from the other team. Step 3 is K5, temporal closure, meaning the team's structure persists over a full season. Step 4, K6 and K7 dictate the actual realized geometry, the finalized roster, and the specific formation they take on the field. Finally, step 5 is K8, which completely locks in the structural level. The team is whole. Section 2. The level completion principle.
So the crucial point is reaching step K8 is not the end of the story. It is actually the beginning of a brand new level of reality. When a lower structure completes that entire K1 through K8 journey, it becomes what we call a K1 carrier. It becomes a single, stable building block. Now, it doesn't generate new energy out of thin air. Instead, that completed lower structure acts as a foundational unit of activation, a brand new K1 on the next structural level up. The hierarchy literally just repeats itself.
And because the structure doesn't create energy, its geometry and coupling paths purely dictate how existing energy gets handled. A local disturbance hitting the structure might be transmitted completely through it, distributed out into collective motion, reflected away, absorbed as heat, temporarily retained as a vibration, or totally blocked from even entering. The structure itself is the ultimate gatekeeper that decides the energy's fate.
Section 3. Water vapor. High activation.
Let's bring this theory to life using water as our main example, starting with water vapor. Think of a single H2O molecule as an already completed, stable structural unit. Its hydrogen and oxygen atoms have completely gone through their own K1 to K8 process, making the entire H2O molecule our base K1 carrier. In the state of water vapor, these completed molecules exhibit super rapid motion and remain widely separated, basically buzzing around independently like energetic toddlers let loose in a massive room. When you look at the K-level activity here, there's a huge contrast. On one hand, we have really strong K1 and K2 activity, lots of motion, lots of brief chaotic collisions between the molecules. But importantly, vapor completely lacks persistent K3 organization. Because their interactions are so incredibly short-lived, no collective structure develops at all. The molecules remain highly active for sure, but they are structurally completely independent. Section 4. Liquid, water, temporary organization. Now, as the temperature drops, the molecules move closer together, and they begin to interact in a fundamentally different way. Liquid water advances further up the hierarchy. We get continuous K2 couplings with neighboring molecules, which actually creates temporary K3 collective arrangements. But it lacks K6 completion. Those arrangements constantly break, change, and reform. And you know what? This lack of rigid K6 geometry is exactly what gives liquid water its magic flexibility, allowing it to flow and continuously reorganize on the fly. Section 5. Solid ice, structural completion. Finally, the molecular motion slows down enough for the entire hierarchy to fully lock into place. And this brilliantly illustrates the complete HSF process. The K2 couplings become persistent, forming a highly stable K3 network, carrying K4 stabilization, and remaining closed over time through K5. Then we achieve that beautiful geometric completion. K6 defines the rigid crystal geometry, K7 admits it, and K8 completely locks it in. The ice lattice is now a highly stable, totally finished higher-level material structure. Because it has successfully reached KH, the completed ice crystal doesn't just sit there. It immediately becomes an effective K1 carrier with an even larger level. Just think about the sheer scale of that for a second. Microscopic crystals coupling together to form heavy blocks of ice, which then couple together to carve out literal mountains as a massive, sweeping glacier. Section 6. The Universal Repeating Hierarchy. Now that we understand the micromechanics of how water states change, let's zoom out to the entire universe. We can scale this exact same rule up to absolutely everything around us. We start at the very bottom. The internal properties of atoms, their motion, frequency, and coupling behavior, dictate absolutely everything above them. Atoms complete their own microscopic K hierarchy. Once completed, those atoms become the K1 carriers that couple together to form molecules, like our H2O example. And this is the vital part. The chemical identity remains exactly the same, but the higher-level organization levels up to a completely new stage. Molecules then repeat the hierarchy to form material structures. This is where we get our ice crystals. The base properties of those foundational molecules ultimately determine which specific material structures are allowed to form in the physical world. It is literally like discovering the secret blueprint for matter. And let's see how this builds. The hierarchy just keeps going. Materials form tangible objects: a block of ice, a mechanical gear in a car engine, a biological organ in your body. These are discrete objects, acting as fully complete structural units on their own distinct level. Finally, we reach larger coupled systems. Those discrete objects couple to form incredibly massive environmental, biological, or gravitational systems. We're talking about a sprawling glacier, a complete living human organism, or even a solar system holding planets in orbit. The structural language is universal across all these scales, which is just mind-blowing when you really think about it. This repeating hierarchy is opening up some incredible research directions across completely different fields, too. In biology, we can view cells, tissues, and organs as nested levels. Aging might not just be about chemical defects, but a progressive loss of structural coupling and closure, a literal breakdown of the higher K levels. In astrophysics, stars and galaxies form as completed lower structures acting as carriers in massive gravitational systems. And in engineering, machine damage isn't just a surface crack. It's an incomplete, distorted, or delayed transfer of activation through that coupled hierarchy. Ultimately, the core thesis of this explainer is exactly this. A higher structure forms when completed lower structures couple and repeat the K hierarchy. The exact same foundational properties, like those found in tiny atoms, can create vastly different realities purely based on their higher-level organization. It is the realization of structure, advancing from K1 all the way to K8, that turns a loose, chaotic collection of energy into a stable, persistent piece of our physical world. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought. How do you view the structures in your own life? When you look at the world around you, are you just seeing the base materials? Or are you starting to see the nested, repeating hierarchies that allow reality to hold its shape? Think about the K1 carriers in your own environment and how they couple to form the bigger picture. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep looking for the hidden structures all around you.